So how did you become a coach for mediums and psychics? She's not a medium, she's highly intuitive.
My students tell me I am, but
Right.
I don't believe them.
You don't see dead people, but you sure do get downloads when you're healing
Yes.
people. You start to tap into them.
Mhm.
So you now help, and she discovered the Long Island medium, Teresa Caputo, and she went to school with your children.
Yes, she
And
did.
she had incredible anxiety. So going back to the book, people who are debilitated with anxiety are intuitive, empathic, often healers, and they don't know how to use their tools. And what Pat tries to do is teach them how to work with the tools they're getting, the senses they're feeling, and then how to then heal as a result instead of take it all in. I'm highly empathic, which means I can feel other people's angst, and instead of filtering it like a strainer, think about it, when you put the pasta in the strainer, the water goes through, the pasta stays out. I'm taking in the pasta and the water, and it's not working for me. And I think a lot of people here are like that as well. You're empathic, you walk into a room, you know what people are feeling, you can't go to a mall, it makes you tense. Sometimes live events stress you out if you're in a hospital. Oh my gosh, all the sick people. There's so many layers in a classroom, you know, who didn't do their homework. Whatever it might be, if it's happening like that, it's because you're empathic and you're opening all your chakras and taking in everyone's sludge. And Pat has some great tools on how to work with that and how to make sure you filter out the bad, but still let in the good.
Yes. There's no point in taking in the toxins. There are tools, simple, easy tools. She said them before, surround, ground, shield. Now, we're just throwing out the words. There's a little bit more that goes with that.
Walk us through it.
Huh? Walk them through it. Okay. Close your eyes, guys and girls. And I want you to just imagine yourselves being surrounded in a magnificent bubble. A beautiful, translucent bubble filled with God's white light and protection. Kind of like Glinda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz. And I want you to imagine now, at the bottom of each foot and at your tailbone, you have 3 cords attached to you. And you're going to imagine, just use your thoughts, sending those cords into the earth, right through the seat, right through the bubble, right through the floor, all the way down into the earth. And then open them up and lock them in tight like the roots of a big old tree. Everybody knows what gnarly tree roots look like, so lock them in. And the last part is putting on a very shiny metal vest of armor. Just imagine yourself putting on a vest. There's no collar, no sleeves. It's kind of like a gladiator would wear. And after you've got your vest on, it's going to cover your heart and your lungs, your solar plexus, which is really important because that's where all the junk comes in, right below your rib cage, and then your abdomen, front and back, shoulder to waist. You are now wearing a very shiny metal vest of armor. So you're just surrounded, grounded, and shielded. So once you've done it, if you all did it when I said to do it, all you have to say now on a morning, daily basis is surround, ground, shield. Because every one of you has a guide. There's not one human on this planet that was not given a spiritual guide before they were conceived. And that guide was with you tonight. They all know what you just did, and all you have to do is say surround, ground, shield, and it's done. It will stop anxiety immediately.
You do that with children, it helps them.
Oh yes. Children, I usually use utility belts, superhero utility belts if they're young. I used many, many tools over the years. I've used angel wings, wrapping them. I've used white blankets. We've done all kinds of things, even infants that cry whenever they're around other people. And those children are already feeling the energy of other people. And if you stay in the house and they're okay, and then you take them out or people come into the home and they begin to scream and carry on, it's usually because they can feel energy. They're that sensitive. And the children that have been born, I'm going to say since about 2012, they are wide open when they come in. So you can't really teach them at that age to surround, ground, and shield. So some parents have put the children in their own bubble with them. Sometimes I tell them to bind them and put some type of a receiving blanket, or now they have all these little sleep sacks that they put on, and that really helps. It works.
It's so like a hug. It's like the
It's like, yeah, it's dogs have thunder belts.
Yeah,
they work
thunder
the same way. Children that are autistic will use something called a hugging vest or a weighted vest, and it does the same thing. Now, the person who invented those things, both for the animals and they had no idea what they were actually doing it for. It really does cover the solar plexus. And it's the solar plexus that's the problem. Because that's where the energy enters. That's where, that's the center for addiction. It's the center for low self-esteem. It's the center for fear and anxiety. So it covers a lot of stuff. That's what the empath walks around wide open. Sometimes I feel like empaths their solar plexus is a half a block long. And I have to pull it in.
So even though you're an amazing healer, you still are a huge fan of the medical world, because if somebody's got a hernia, well, you fixed hernias.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it that you were telling me earlier about with your one relative that had something that you couldn't fix? And I mean, look, if you're gonna need your gallbladder removed, I don't think Pat Longo's the one to do it.
No, I can settle things down, absolutely.
But you're not anti-medicine. It's not like you're telling people not to go to the doctor
I'm
if they
not
break their ankle.
anti-medicine. I never have been. People need surgery. Many people need medication. They need antibiotics. I use a lot of supplements and I believe in all that, but I have a heart condition. I have to take heart meds. I'm a diabetic. I have to take medication. And I've healed many, many, many things in my body, but those are the two things that I have right now.
Tell the story about how your mom was given very little time to live, and then that's when you got exposed to the healing modality that you now practice.
Absolutely. My mom had inoperable breast and bone cancer. When she was 69, she was diagnosed. Now, she told us as time went by that she had the tumor, the lump, for at least 5 years. Her breast had actually inverted and was bleeding, and she was just washing it with holy water. And she was very prayerful, very Catholic. She did her novenas every day. She didn't tell a soul, but she didn't go to a doctor in like 32 years. She did not see her, gynecologist. So she was walking around with this. She's putting gauze in, didn't let anybody know. Nobody figured it out. And once we found out, got her to the doctor. She had a core biopsy. It was too late. It was in the ribs, the skull, and the pelvis. And they gave us a very grim diagnosis. And I took my mother to a healer that a psychic told me about. And we went out. She did whatever she did. I was not witness to
Take
it.
me to that conversation where you pitched your Catholic mother that we're going to a healer. I want to hear that dialogue. How did that go?
I just asked her if she trusted me. And she said yes. So I said, well, we're going to go for a ride. And it was a 2-hour ride. And when we got there, the woman was, she reminded me of a flower child. She had long flowing hair, and she was a flowing skirt and bare feet, and it was all full of wildflowers around the house, cobblestones.
No dead chickens, though, or
No
anything.
dead chickens, no dead chickens. And I brought that line up. I used to say people looked at me like I had horns, a tail, and I waved dead chickens. And they'd come to my door, and I looked like this normal person, so they trusted me. I have that quality about me. People just trust. And so, I didn't see what happened.
They went into another room.
They went upstairs, and then my mom got up to go to the bathroom, and the woman came downstairs and said, I love your mother's energy. And then she came out and she went back up the stairs. I was sitting watching Oprah. That's where she put me. And when we were done, we got in the car and we were backing out, and she came running out with bare feet. And I opened the window, and she said to my mother, do you pray to the Blessed Mother? And my mother said, yes, every day. And she said, well, she was there in the room. And she said, I was just so overwhelmed that I didn't say anything. So we left. And on the way home, my mother looked at me and said, why not me? It's the first time that she ever said anything like that. And eventually she did say to me that she believed that she actually got sick so that I could find my healing gifts, which was an amazing statement. And she went into remission, and she lived until she was 84. She did not die of cancer. It was just kind of natural causes after my dad passed. And
imagine that. It's all over the body.
Yeah. No.
And she said, why not me?
Why not me? Mm-hmm. She went every month or every 6 weeks, I think, to the oncologist. She did her regular tests. She had scans periodically, maybe once a year, twice a year, I don't even remember. And it was stagnant. It was there, you could see it in the bones, but it never moved. The breast healed, it just healed up, and that was that. You know, it was wonderful. And after my father passed, she just was so sad. And he had said to me before he passed, he died very suddenly. It's interesting the difference between somebody dying very suddenly and somebody going through an illness. You kind of want them to go because they're so sick, and the ones that die suddenly put everybody in shock, but it's really the better way to go. So he said to me one day, I was his caretaker, and I took him to and from his doctors, and he looked at me and he said, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I said, Dad, it's okay. You're allowed to close your eyes. It's all right. And he says, well, who's going to take care of your mother? I said, who do you think's going to take care of her? And he said, I just want to make my 60th wedding anniversary. And he did. As a matter of fact, for their 60th wedding anniversary, I brought Teresa Caputo, the Long Island medium, over to the house to do a reading for them. And that was interesting because it was not something my father was necessarily open to. I'd already moved my mother along, but my father was another story. And he was more like the Archie Bunker. And they had the most amazing reading. And he was so excited because he heard from all of his army buddies, his police buddies, his fire department buddies, his family. And after he passed, many people, many of the mediums that I've trained got in touch with me. And they all told me my father was running from group to group to group, and he was having a blast. And he still is. He still comes through and talks to me, and my mother does. Not as much, my mother. My mother is on a higher elevated space, let's say, a different
All
level.
that praying to the Blessed Mother got her a better suite.
Yeah, oh, believe me, believe me. But what's interesting about the other side is that you can come down to any level, but you can't go up until you learn. You have more learning and growth to do on the other side. But if you're, say, on level 5, you can come down to level 2 and visit. But you can't go to level 5 unless you've got, you know, you've passed a few
I just
tests.
think of Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep, you know,
Yeah.
in Defending Your Life, which is a great movie if you haven't ever seen
Hysterical,
it.
hysterical.
Yes. Do you believe there is a life review that we watch and we see everything that we put out, we feel
100%.
everything that we put out?
100%. I truly believe that there is no judgment. You judge yourself, okay? You get to the other side and you feel all the pain that you have inflicted on other human beings, and you feel all the joy. So you feel the joy, the love, you feel the pain, and then you, as a soul, are going to sit there and you're going to say, okay, I did a pretty good job, or I didn't do such a hot job, you better add more to my plate for the next round. And no one else points a finger at you and says you didn't do the right thing. It's not how it works. And again, this is my experiences based on past life regressions that I've done with people, taking people to the other side, meeting with their guides, meeting with their loved ones, getting feedback, and also from the mediums that work in my class. They give you information and it's accurate.